Good morning, everyone. My name is Charmaine Kendal, and I would like to welcome you all to Philosophy Live. It's the beginning of a new season. We have wonderful talks lined up for you, and I hope you will join us. Please, would you be free to comment on this morning's talk if you wish? Now, let's begin. This morning, I will be speaking about William Wordsworth, the philosopher in verse. William Wordsworth was born roughly 100 years after Shakespeare died. He grew up and he lived in a time that was very interesting in Britain. It was the Industrial Revolution, and it was a time for the development of capitalism. So that obviously comes into his poetry. Now, I will also be continuing my description of the sonnet as well. Previously, we looked at the Petrarchian sonnet, the Shakespearean sonnet, and today we're going to look at the Petrarchan or Italian sonnet, which was written by Wordsworth, obviously. So let us begin. I'm going to begin by reading the sonnet to you. The world is too much with us, late and soon, getting and spending. We lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. This sea that bears her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn, so might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn, have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn. Now, some of you might know the sonnet, so it's quite clear to you, but there might be others of you who don't know where to begin. You don't know what it's about. Well, remember I said previously that often the way to understand a sonnet is through its structure. Now, the sonnet is made up of two sections. The first is an octave, 8 lines in the beginning that set out a proposition, a question, an argument, a debate, anything of that sort. And then it is concluded with a sestet, a response, a clarification, a counter-argument, a resolution. So, in this sonnet, we also have, at the beginning of the sestet, a break, a clear distinction that I've spoken of this before, now I'm speaking of this. And that break is actually called a volta. And it happens in this sonnet with the words, great God. It's prefaced by a dash and it has an exclamation mark, so it's full of emotion. And it changes everything. Now, let's look at the explanation of the proposition or the 8 lines, the octave. Wordsworth begins by saying, the world is too much with us. Now, when he speaks about the world, he is speaking about materialism. He's speaking about the gross physical world of the senses. He's speaking about where our attention lies, and it lies in the physical world. So the statement governs his octave. So we're too preoccupied with the physical gross world, the materialistic world. Late and soon. Late is our dwelling in the past, and soon is our groping for the future, our expectations. Notice there is no present moment there. It's living in the past and living in the future. Getting and spending. So we acquire things. Whatever we can acquire, consumerism, whatever we want, we can get. Now, when he says spending, there's not only spending money, but to spend something actually means to waste something. So there's wasting. So we get things and we're wasting things. We're wasting ourselves. And how are we wasting ourselves? We are wasting ourselves through giving up our inherent powers, our birthright. And I would say that the power that is most prevalent that we have given up in this sonnet is our connection with spirit. That is how I read the sonnet. He says, little we see in nature that is ours. So we don't connect with nature anymore. We don't connect with anything anymore. We have given our hearts away. We've given it away to capitalism, to materialism. And that is a dirty gift, sordid boon. Then he comes into the moment and he points to the scene he's looking at. He says, this sea that bears her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours are all upgathered now like sleeping flowers. Notice that the sea, imagine the scene, a beautiful calm sea and the moon reflected in the sea. So there's this direct link between the moon and the sea. And the sea is open. She's opening up her heart to the moon. So there's this connection. Unlike us, we've closed our heart. And the wind is gathered up now. It's calm, it's peaceful, a beautiful scene. And he says, for this, for everything, we are out of tune. He speaks of our lack of harmony, our discordance, our dissonance with the world. We no longer sing with the beauty. It no longer moves us. So we see very much the philosophy here. He's looking at the state of the world. He's looking at the state of people in the world and where they've gone wrong. And he's saying that we have closed ourselves off and there is no connection. Then he says, great God. He's calling to the universal spirit. He's pleading with the God of all, the God of gods, the God that is ultimate and absolute. He's pleading. And then he refutes his own belief system, his own religion. He says, I'd rather be a pagan. And now he's referring to the Romans and the Greeks and so on. I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn. So he'd rather take up that religion if it meant that standing on this pleasant meadow, so might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. I would take up this religion of a creed outworn, this belief system, if I could not be so lonely, if I could unite, I could connect with my spirit. And then he goes back to the scene he's looking at and he says, if I could have the sight of Proteus rising from the sea. Now, Proteus was the god that could change his form into anything. And it's significant he's chosen Proteus because he is indicating the transformative power of nature to bring about a connection. And then he says, "O hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn." Now, Triton was a merman, and he rose up out of the sea, and when he blew his horn, the songs of the universe, the spheres, the harmony of the song of the universe could be heard by everybody. And that is what he wants. He wants to be in harmony with everything. And notice how he ends very cleverly, and I need to finish off now. Notice how he ends the octave. We are out of tune. And he ends the sestet with the possibility of uniting with the universal harmony, the song of the heavens. So I shall just read the poem again to you, and you can notice there the philosophical nature, how he describes the condition of mankind as being cut off, and in the last section, he says, we need to connect again with the universal spirit of all. The world is too much with us, late and soon, getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon. This sea that bears her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours, are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn, so might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn, have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wreathed horn. So you notice how Wordsworth's giving us an opportunity now. This is Philosophy Live, and the message of the poem is about being alive, about being in touch, about being connected with your real self and the self of everything around you. Thank you very much for sharing this morning, and I hope that you will join us next week at the same time. I've enjoyed speaking to you. Goodbye.